Parashat Midbar happens to be the same week that at the time Chief Rabbi Lord Sachs came and spoke at Millwall Shul, which is my local synagogue, and I was asked to give a sort of a creed of our Torah, which I was quite proud of at the time, and I'm still proud of now, and I've told lots of people about it. And so I thought I'd give something very similar to it, and then tenuously link it into Baba Kama at the end. So it goes as follows: at the beginning of the parasha we have another census, and a question that Rashi asks straight away is, why are we having another one? We've had two already. We had one after the Mitzrayim, and we had another one after the Golden Calf. So why do we need a third one? And the classic answer is, well, if you love something, you like to count it a lot. You like to know how much of it you have, and we, Bnei Yisrael, are precious to Hashem. So He wants to count us as much as He can. Specifically with, if you want to go back to the Egel Zahav, like the reason why He counted them there. There's a Rashi, Parashat Kitisa, I think, which says that after the Egel Zahav, He sent a plague, so He wants to count how many of them were left afterwards. But with regards to them leaving Mitzrayim and now, when we have another count, the numbers are pretty much exactly the same, around the 600,000 mark. So it doesn't seem like, it's very nice when I count how many you have, but they haven't really changed. So what's the point of counting? So there is a difference between the two countings. Over here we're talking, it says Levei Tavotam according to their households, and anyone who's doing well in Shlai Mikra at the moment will know that it then goes on to talk about each tribe individually and why and how many people there are in each of the different tribes. The question is, we're now 2 years after Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why have they waited so long in order to count Bnei Yisrael in their tribes individually as opposed to as a whole number? And so Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky says the following, that division normally causes competition. If you divide everyone into the different tribes, then you start to get competition between different people, they all want different things, there can be things for everything. But what's happened now, we've got the Mishkan, okay, the second half of Shemot, we've got the building of the Mishkan. Now in Vayikra we had talking about the jobs in the Mishkan and everything, and now there's a central rallying point for Bnei Yisrael. And so the divisions no longer work as a competitive side to Bnei Yisrael, but actually it's a centre for them to focus themselves on. So each tribe has their own individual parts, role to play, job to play, and they use that towards the Mishkan. So there's no longer competition because they each have their different jobs. And the Chovetz Chaim talks about an army, and if you split an army up for battle, because that's just tactically it's the best way to do it. Is to split armies into their individual platoons. They each go into battle. You just send everyone in as a huge group. It's never going to work. And the reason you defeat the enemy is because they're all focused on this common goal, on the enemy, each with individual jobs, and that's tactically the best way in which to do it. And also with regards to counting, I think the Rambam and Sfono say that another reason for counting is we need to know how many people there were who were going to be able to fight from Israel when we went into Israel. On a separate note, the Ramban talks about the counting and says at this point what happened was that each individual person got to go up to either Moshe or Aaron, and they said their name, and they went into their tent, they got to say their name to Aaron, and that was it, or Moshe. But if you think about it at the time, right, you have Moshe, who is the head of Bnei Yisrael, and Aaron, his brother, the Kohen Gadol, to go in and individually be able to give your name, saying who your father's name is a pretty big honour. And so this is another part of the census, which is like something a bit different to what we've had in the past, that each individual person got a focus. So, just to summarise the few different ideas which we've got here, and how I think they all come together quite nicely, because normally, in modern society at least, when you have a census, it's sort of a way of generalising the population, right? This many people of this many people of that, this many people of that. But with regards to the census we see here, it's not that we want to generalise Bnei Yisrael, but quite the opposite. We want to see how each individual person, each individual tribe, can give their part to Bnei Yisrael. Starting with what I said last, the Ramban, each individual person got to go to Moshe Aaron, give his name to Aaron. Going back, Chovetz Chaim, if you compare that to Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky saying that each individual tribe had their job to play, they had a rallying point, and so you have this importance of each individual tribe, not just being like, yeah, we've got this tribe, but why do we wait until this point? Because we want to see that each individual tribe has their job to play within Bnei Yisrael towards the rallying point, the centre, the Mishkan, which has now been built. And even going back all the way to what Rashi says in the simple explanation, it's because God loves us, right? He loves each individual of us. He wants to know how many of us there are, because each individual one of us is precious to him. Even if one changes, he wants to know. Right, tenuous link into other colour. I think what's special about Nezikin as opposed to the other sector, the other Sadarim within Mishnah, is that it's about individuals. It's about your responsibility, especially Baba Kama, when we're talking about damages. It's about your individual role in looking after yourself, your property, and making sure that you're careful. Just to place out a few sugyas, I'm not going to look at anything in detail. If one person digs a pit of 9 and someone ups it to 10, who's responsible? Which individual is responsible? 2 people have done 2 different things. What are their individual responsibilities and what do they each have to do? Another one, 4 people sitting on a bench, the 5th one comes and breaks the bench. Are they responsible? Did just the 5th one do it? Another one, I think it's in the end of the third parak, if you throw something off a building and someone else comes and hits it with a baseball bat and it smashes, which person is responsible? We're looking like we've got groups of people who have obviously contributed to the damaging, but each individual person has to realise that they have a responsibility and there's a need to work out which individual person has to take on that responsibility for themselves, has to pay up, has to do whatever they need to do in order to reconcile what they have done. So on that note, I'm going to finish the Masechet. Before I do, I just want to say that I brought out my Masechet, my Brachot with me, because I had one in England. It was a Masechet I was learning with the Chavruta before I came out to Yeshiva, and I'd been learning it for about 5 or 6 months at the time, for an hour and a half, 2 hours a week with alumnus of Hakotel Eli Koten. And I opened it, and he sat down and worked really hard with me. And I opened up to the 4th parak, which is where we started, and thought, oh, I might remember some of this, see how much I've done, and I've done 2 daf in like 6 months of an hour and a half a week. And so for me to stand here now and have finished 109, just under 120 daf of Baba Kama, for me that's quite an achievement. Yeah. Okay. So it finishes talking. The last Mishnah talks about if you've got workmen and they're they're doing a job and there's things that are left behind. I know pieces of wood, chisels of stone, threads. Are they allowed to keep them for themselves? Do they have to give them back to the original owner of the garment? So whatever it was. So the last part of the Mishnah, it says if you've got a worker working in the property of the person whose stuff you're working with, you have to, do you or do you not have to give the drippings, whatever's left, back? It's going to give some examples at the end. So, Tana Rabbanan, Mastadi Avanim, Ein Bahem Mishum Gezel. If you're chiseling stones, you don't have the prohibition of Gezel against you. You don't have to give back the little pieces that are left at the bottom to the original owner. You're allowed to keep them for yourselves. Masagi ilanos, if you're pruning trees, Masagi gafanim, if you're pruning grapevines, mit kafi, higi, if you're pruning a thorn bush, or menach says rayim, or like there are weeds and you'll bring out weeds, and bisman shebal, sorry, it's that one, ozrei yarakot, and pruning vegetables. Bisman shebalabayit makpid aleihen yesh bahem mishum gezel. If the balabayit is makpid, he really wants that stuff back, then you're not allowed to take them to yourselves. Ein balabayit makpid aleihen harei elu shelo. You're allowed to take them to yourselves if he doesn't really care what happens to them. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, kashut, chazit, ein bahem mishum gezel. So you have these 2 things, kashut and chazit. Chazit is like wheat that's not fully grown yet. So with regards to these things, you're not subject to theft. However, in a place where people are particular that these things, they don't want people to take them from them, then you're not allowed to take them, you aren't allowed to steal them. And finally, Amravina, Mita, Mapsi, Atra, Kafti, in this place, Machasya, they said they were very particular, they didn't want people taking these items, this wheat. Minan, lo balma hadein, lo balma da'atei. Hadron la kisek balakama, hadrach alam. Da'atach alam, Allah misek balakama, da'atach alam. Lo mishay minach, misek balakama, ve'lo mitit mishay minan. Lo balma hadein, lo balma da'atei. Hadron la kisek balakama, hadrach alam. Da'atach alam, Allah דתן הלך מסכת בבא קמא ודתן הלך. לא נשי מינה מסכת בבא קמא ולא תית נשי מינה. לא על המעדן ולא על דעתי. ירשום לפניך אדוני והנה ולהבתנו. שתהי תורתך אמנותך בעולם הזה ותהי עמנו לעולם הבא. חנינו בפאפה, רוני בפאפה, נחמן בפאפה, אחי בפאפה, אבא מרי בפאפה, רפרם בפאפה, רפיש בפאפה, סורחם בפאפה, אדם בפאפה, דרו בפאפה. הערב נע אדוני אלוהינו את דברי תורתך בפינו ובפיות עמך בישראל ונגיע אנחנו מצאצאנו עמך בישראל כולם יודעי שמך ולמדי תורתך ויודעי תחכמני מצוותיך כי לעולם כי לי כי מביא תמים חוקך למען לא אברוש לעולם לא אשכח פקודך כי רם חייתני ברוך אתה אדוני למדי חוקך אמן 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 סלע בעת מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולהבתנו ששמת חלקנו מיושבי בית המדרש ולא שמת חלקנו מיושבי קורנות שאני משכימים והם משכימים אני משכימים בדברי תורה והם משכימים בדברי בתהילים אנו עמלים והם עמלים אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר והם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר אנו רצים והם רצים אנו רצים לחיי עולם הבא והם רצים נבר שחת שאמרה ואתה אלוהים תורידם נבר שחת אנשי דמים ומרמה לא יחצו ימיכם ואני אפתח בה ירצום לפניך אדוני אלוהי בשם שעזרתני לסיים מסכת בבא קמא כן תעזרני להתחיל מסכתות בספרים אחרים ולסיימם ללמוד ללמד לשמוע ולעשות לכם את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה לזכות כל התנאים המוראים ותלמידי חכמים יעמוד לי לזרי שלא תנוש התורה מפי זרי וזרע זרי עד עולם ותתקיים בי והתהלכך תנחה אותך ושכבך ותשמור עליך וחפצותך כי תשיחך כי בי ירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים אורך ימים וימינה ושמאלה ועושה וחברת אמר תודה וקדש שמיר עד יתרועתך להחלטה ולהחיה ולעסקה יצפון לחיי עולמה ולמבנה קרתה ירושלים ולשכללה החלה בגאווה ולמכר פלחנה נפלאה מן הרע ולעטבה פלחנה די שמיים לעטרה ימליך קודשה ברחוב המלכותי יקרא וחייכון ויולכון וחי לכל בישראל והגלב למען קרב ומרמן שבח וחבת מן הסם וחלק יפלט וחלש ונקשבר ואלה מקבל חתם שעתה שפחת מלחמת אדמה ועמד מעלה וישוע ויאור רבנה ויאור וקום יאור כל תלמידי כבודיך ויאור קורמן עסקין ואורייתא די ועטרה הדד די וכל אתר ואתה יהל וכל שלום רב אחים ולכסתא רחמן וחיים ארכים ומזודי רכי ופרקדה וקדם אברהם ושלום ואמן שלום רב משלה וחיים אלינו והכל שלום ואמן עושה שלום בממפי עשה שלום אלינו והכל שלום ואמן Amen.